There's no one here yet. Okay. This guy is something. Nobody here. That's weird. 6 o'clock was when I was scheduled, right? Yeah, 6 o'clock. Okay. But anyway, this guy right here, this guy is something else. This is an airbrush
Distilled water
painting.
here.
He did this. He created this with an airbrush and X-Acto knives and erasers and this guy's something else. This channel's called the Art Workshop.
Painting or drawing is just an illusion. So here's an example of that. Why does this painting of a kettle somehow look shiny and reflective, while this portrait painting doesn't look shiny or reflective? It looks
I mean, that's can't really see it. Well, you can see it enough. Yeah, this is airbrush work. He works with like $800 airbrushes to get the fine lines that he gets. But anyway, that's not why we're here. We're here to see got any pitch Lumen. I've seen him around. Haven't really watched any of his videos ever at all. I've seen him on debates and stuff. And he's having a conversation with a friend of the channel, Jack of all trades. So
Um, I'll give it just.
I was hoping it was. What time is it now? 6 o'clock. What's 6 plus 8? 4 a.m. 4. Oh, it's 4 a.m. where Jack of all trades is. Oh well.
A sec here because I think it should be. Hopefully, I clicked that go live and everything. So hopefully we're on here. We should be on YouTube using StreamYard here. So hello everybody. Today here we're gonna have a discussion. This is a Jack of all trades. He's a nice man, and we've talked for a while, and we're wanting to talk here about information, how people have interpreted information or the information they've discovered through some sort of observation of natural world or experiment, and then how they represent and portray that information, and how it can be perceived by the watcher, the person listening, and everything. And so, with science, you're ideally trying to eliminate bias and focus on observations, things that are empirical, and then you're trying to report the observed data as accurately as possible. And humans hopefully were
Hey, Westside.
being truthful with each other if we all could trust each other and didn't lie. Like the information, you could access anything on the internet, it would be truthful, and that would be really good for accelerating information and knowledge that everyone could have. That's maybe a tangent, and it's just the intro here, so maybe I'll just anyway. Jack of all trades, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself and say whatever you'd like to say, and then we could get started on this a little more.
Sure, yes. So my YouTube channel is Jack of all trades on YouTube. Love to debunk flat earthers once in a while. Take the most stupid clips that things they say, and try to make it into shorts. My background is currently running science. I'm doing a PhD degree at the moment, and I hope we touch on that a bit on the scientific method that flat earthers rudely misunderstand. They try to always put it into the scientific method as if there is one. And
I've got like two different things going at the same time. So here, I need to organize. There we go.
And I think science is quite different.
No, this is from a month ago.
From what they perceive it to be from their high school training. So over to that, to you, Nathan.
Okay, yeah,
Just for a
definitely.
moment, I put on my Freemason orange shirt specifically, so they can all say that I make Freemason hand signs and blink with my eyes and stuff like that.
No. Hopefully, no one. Sometimes people can wear orange, or if you talk with your hands or something, like holding a hand sign up, like
Yeah,
their
exactly.
fingers and everything. So there. I mean, there is some thought to like certain grips and everything with handshakes. There's some stuff there that gets into some pretty serious like socio-political and influential people and everything. That's something that I think there is something there, but people. We're trying to we humanity, we're the majority. Most of us are peaceful, even if we have disagreements about even very big issues and prominent matters. And so we're as long as we're peaceful to each other and can respectfully discuss and then dissect what's being said and digest it properly and everything. Hopefully, we'll be good to go. So I guess the first thing that I will pull up here, I guess I'll kick it off. So that the first matter of deception that I would like to ask you about is, let me see if I can present screen share. Okay, so this should be my screen. So I'm going to click on here. Okay, so the first thing that I will go with here is, let me expand this. So this here, can you, Bart, I don't know if you can see my screen or not, but
not yet. Still loading.
It's still loading. Okay. So this here, it should all kind of go forward. So this here,
Hey, Cygnus.
I'll play this video to start. I'm
in Fusion 360 designing a little holder stand for my Paches airbrushes.
Let's see, hide that. Where does that go? Okay. This here is going to be from PBS, and this is a show that was put up by Stephen Hawking, and this is called Genius. And so let me see if I can turn this up a little bit here. I guess it's on max. I'll play this real quick.
I'm surprised that Stephen Hawking porn never made it big. Like pornography that's being narrated by Stephen Hawking's computer voice. I think that would be fucking awesome.
I love that there are no doors.
Or like the guy's voice dubbed over by Stephen Hawking's voice.
So that right there is if you could hear it. So they're sitting in this helicopter and there's no doors on the side. Here they show a door on the side and everything is closed. And then here she says I love that there are no doors. And so they show a helicopter that is claimed to
that doesn't have any doors.
Have doors, not have doors. And
you know, helicopter doors open, right? You can fly with them open. Did you know that, dummy? You can open up the doors, right? They have a latch that holds them open.
Then I guess we could, there's another claim, but this video is one of itself, one instance in and of itself.
Is his name Nathan?
So let me go back to here and stop screen sharing. All right, Joe, what do you think about the helicopter presentation? Like how do you view them saying like they love that there are no doors on this helicopter, but even something like just the physical properties of this helicopter being that there are doors, they like got it. That wasn't accurate to say there were no doors, right? Because there are doors on the helicopter. Misspeak or whatever you want to say, but what do you feel about it?
Right. When you have the doors open all the way, it looks like there's no doors on the helicopter. They've basically taken them off. They're on rails. I mean, I don't understand what he's getting all excited about.
So, as you clearly stated, this is a show. in the show, there is several parties involved that are not related to the topic at hand, which is an editor, which is a program manager, etc. They don't care about what they show. So obviously, there is two different helicopters that they use in these shots, one with doors and one without doors. I wouldn't call that deliberate deception from Stephen Hawkins and or the program. What is it? The people that are shown.
Why do people keep calling him Stephen Hawkins? He just did it.
Yeah, it's on PBS. The
This is
the
basically the
Genius
decision
program.
of the editor that says, "Hey, the shot of the open door helicopter doesn't look good, so I pick one with closed doors."
Okay,
The-
so there can be like
The crux of the matter is that they went up with a helicopter.
Yeah.
Whether or not the footage shows exactly the same helicopter with the open doors or closed doors doesn't really matter. I mean, you see them going up in a helicopter. That the editor chose a shot with a helicopter with closed doors. That doesn't do anything about the issue at hand. It's just a decision from an editor.
Okay, and so that might be something to kind of unpack from that. Could be like how something is portrayed or edited or put together, no matter like who it's done by or the production company or crew or whoever. Things can be put together and not necessarily be like what is the reality. It's kind of like how you hear about like on social media, someone can put forward this, that, and the other thing that like is like a glamorous lifestyle or whatever, but then they're really sad outside of that. Or it's so you can portray things and present things a certain way, but then it might not necessarily be the true, most accurate interpretation and reflection of reality.
Of course.
Right. I mean, that's a long answer to kind of what that is. It's
very
just
nice.
Go on. I apologize.
The purpose of such shows is to keep people enticed and engaged with the story. So they'll pick the best shots for it, and these are not necessarily in chronological order. They just have some set of footage that I took with for the show. They pick out the nicest bit and the most appealing bits, and they go with that. Does it change the evidence being presented? No, not really. We need to look at the evidence for that, not at the shots and make an argument about open door and no doors and whatever. It's irrelevant to the storyline.
Okay. All right, then I will, because this is still kind of off of the same initial clip or from this program. So I'll hop real quick here over to the next videos here. Let me share screen again. And for Bart, when you do a presentation, if you go to present on the bottom there, and then it'll ask you you can click on entire screen or a tab or a window, and then you have to click on that box and then click share. Now this will pop, a third box will pop up on this bottom here, and then this will show this just so. Okay, so then we'll go to, so here. So that is, he says it right there. So that is, he's saying as the helicopter lands.
On the horizon.
I got him. Okay, what's your elevation?
Okay, and so then there, what we see is the helicopter rising up from being covered by the water, the appearance of being covered by the water. And so I'll just go back and I'll play this one more time here. The setting of the helicopter.
Yeah.
As it lands.
Okay, and then I'll play one more time here. The rising of the helicopter. And yeah, they are no doors or anything, but. So there is the rising of the helicopter, and so this distance, by the way, so they're like 3 miles away, and the helicopter, they didn't account for like refraction or anything. They used their numbers, their raw numbers based off of not factoring in observer height or anything like that. But with these two clips, the emphasis of these two is, and I apologize for not immediately being able to like make it bigger. But right here, let me hide this real quick. So right here, you have these birds, and then I'm going to open up that other one. Oops. Okay, so now we got that one there, and can I open both of these up or no? Okay, I can't. I guess I can't have them both up at the same time here.
Why is it that flat earthers choose to argue the crappiest photography? Why is that?
Yeah. What's your argument?
Point of it is these birds? They are. Let me pause this here. So these birds that are by my mouse here on the left of the screen, these birds, you can line them up on the rising shot and the descending shot. And these birds actually fly the same spacing, the same movements, the same water, the same dark and light of the water that they fly through. This water and these birds, this foreground here, is it's almost like a copy paste of the terra firma that is supposed to be being measured, and so now that. So what do you think about those birds having being like using the same birds, the same water, showing, because the whole point of this experiment, of this observation, was to show a object, a helicopter, being hidden behind curve, and now this thing that is supposed to be hiding the curvature or hiding the object, which is the curving Earth, this is the thing that is now able to be called into question, because there is this phenomena of duplication, almost like duping or duplicity, or it's the same birds, the same water, the same motions, spacing of the birds and everything like that. So what do you think about that?
So in order to evaluate that, I'll need to see much more information.
It must have been a glitch in the matrix, like when the black cat crossed the path twice in the hotel. Probably like that.
Just claiming that they are the same.
That probably explains it.
Means nothing.
Jesus.
If the shot was taken, the whole shot.
Holy crap! 2 birds look alike.
Between the landing and the takeoff of the helicopter, then indeed the birds would have very minimal differences in color and distance, etc. I mean, that's what birds do. They float in the water, they sit around, they group together. But I doubt if you put an overlay of the setting of the helicopter and the taking off, that they are exactly the same. That I would need to see a clear overlay of the two images. Take 2 screenshots, do 150% transparency, and compare them. I
don't.
Well, they look alike. That's close enough.
Don't right now. Those are from, because I went to the PBS website and I paid for a subscription to be able to watch those. So those are my rough like personal captures from PBS. That's for entertainment and analysis purposes, by the way, for copyright or whatever. So there are people who have taken those clips, and they have done a transparency overlay of them, and they have shown that those birds are the same. They're flying in the same position. They're flying at the same rate. And that is, again, like the discussion is about the curve of the Earth and if it can hide things. And this very thing that's it's supposed to be doing and hiding is actually, it's the thing that's subject to scrutiny for editing, for duplication. Because if say the birds were flying from left to right, as they're flying, as the helicopter is going
This
down.
is
That
taking
might
a
be
long
one thing. You
time.
have birds pass through your shot.
Fuck.
But then as that helicopter is going up, if those birds have flown over to here somewhere, it would be highly unlikely they would fly back over to here in the same spacing and then be able to fly back across as the helicopter goes up from behind that curve. So, so it is that those birds
I need to see better
have been
footage that
overlaid.
those birds are flying. I assumed they were floating on the water.
They were flying, and there is I do apologize for not having that specific overlay example footage, but I can assure you that it is out there, that it has been overlaid. I'll make a short of it or something. I'll overlay them. I think I should be able to do that. But they are a match. They do synchronize with each other upon the transparency overlay. So if we'll just say, like, hypothetically, if those birds were a match and they were synchronized with each other upon being put above one another, what would you think of that?
So I always go with the principle trust and verify. Trust but verify. At this point, I cannot verify anything, so I can't really make any conclusions out of this. I doubt they will be exactly the same, frame to frame. If they are, then it's worth something to look into further.
Okay.
But again, it's a point where an editor takes creative decisions. I doubt it would go to an extent that they would copy and paste the lower bottom of a earlier capture and use it for the top. I mean, if the birds are just sitting on the water and the footage was taken within seconds of each other, so the helicopter descends and then ascends again, there would be minimal changes in what the birds do. If they are actually flying, then it's worth a point to look further into.
Yeah, because if they were flying across the water, they'd be going left to right, and then they would, if it's in a matter of seconds, they would have to fly back around back to the left side again, and then fly and maintain the same flight formation and pattern. If they were going to have that same,
not just seconds or hours, we don't know when the footage was taken.
Yeah, we don't. Well, yeah, because it is edited and everything. So maybe I think we might, like. What do you think it would be helpful for? Say there's like a film crew or somebody making a documentary or putting together, anything they're gonna put on like the internet or whatever. They're gonna like publish to the public. It would be nice, especially maybe in these, like, it'd be more feasible too for like these production companies and everything who have access to teams and like can talk to scientists and everything. It would be probably good for the public if maybe like film crews had maybe scientists check over how information for experiments and the observations being made in those experiments, like scientists should look over and say, let's make sure we accurately report the observation we're trying to show, and not use any editing or anything like that, like cutting half of a screen and then saying we're going to just copy paste the bottom half and change the top half. That would be a very serious editing technique. That would be a very serious editing technique. So if we had scientists look over how things are portrayed for documentaries and things, that might help cut down on error and false portrayals, because now that calls the whole observation itself into question about what was really going on there. Like you said, like how much time passed between edits and how did those birds get back to the side and everything. So okay, that was my so we'll go over. I'll make a short about those the birds. I'll overlay them with the transparency and everything, and then we can maybe have a follow up on that once we can kind of show more that they are truly synchronized with each other. So that was my first deception that might be put forward by someone at, for either side. Would you want to share one of your examples now?
Yeah, I haven't done much on this. So I would like to go quickly. I'll see if I can present one slide only. slides. Screen. Too many screens open at the moment.
Hey, yeah, I think it should be for the screen sharing.
Do this in
for present. I'll let
screen
it.
sharing doesn't work.
There might be like tabs, or it'll ask for a few options of like if you want to share a specific web tab or.
No, I need to change my system preference. I'll just do it from the top of my head. So
okay.
Flat earthers keep talking about the scientific method. You know, the 5 steps of the scientific method. This is something you learn in high school. This is something where you go into the very basics of science. And once you get a few steps further, so going into university, and I'm sure you're getting into this, science is not purely about the scientific method. It's just one method that's being used to identify how to do proper science. Actually, science focuses on 5 questions. 6. And in auditing, we call it 5W1H. Who, what, where, when, why, and how. So these are basically the questions that science turns around. Why is there a downward acceleration of 9.8 meters per second per second? In your kind of work, what are the effects of age on heart disease? Using those questions, science then develops models and try to figure out what the causes and effects are. So it's not always about an independent variable and a dependent variable, because in the health business, you cannot control your age group, for instance. That's impossible to do in some cases. So science quickly expands into one independent variable versus one dependent variable, looking into models for causes and effects. And using the scientific method, one of them, especially in social sciences, you get very different methods that you can use. You try to develop rigorous concepts where you find clear causation between causes and effects. Now, here you come into the issue, correlation doesn't imply causation, right?
Correct, yep. As we're taught, yeah.
Now turn that around. Does causation imply correlation?
Does causation imply correlation? I think that it would. If something is causal, then it would be correlated to it.
Exactly. So this is where flat earthers tend to go, you need to look at cause and effect. You cannot base it on correlation. Whereas if there is a clear cause and effect, we would see a correlation of 95% plus. And that's also with statistics that we're trying to go to. So you can do 100% sample, you would get 100% accuracy.
Like practical yield. And that makes sense. Like if something does cause something, then that effect is correlated to the cause itself. I mean, it is when you perform this action under standard conditions, and you might have a variable, maybe the temperature is not where you need it to on one trial run versus another, so you get a little bit different result. But as long as you repeat that causing experiment that you're carrying out, then you're going to get that repeated result. Real quick, if I might ask, do you believe that science should be open to allowing anyone, no matter how maybe
Volume's been way down low. Sorry about that, guys.
obvious of a
Hey, Stanley.
given answer nature provides? Like, do you think that anything should be allowed to be questioned, asking those who, what, when, where, how, why, and then or I guess not the who, but that would be like you should be able to ask that and then say, okay.
We also believe that when asked a question, you should answer it. See, we tend not to get answers from you guys.
Okay, here's the experiment where we tested the how this happens and then determined this is the causal mechanism for how it happens. And like, would you agree? Any question, you should be able to be critical in your analysis. You should.
You also don't believe in the causal mechanism because you ignore gravity. See, we tell you about gravity and you don't want to hear it. Well, that's the cause of a lot of shit.
Be able to question a strength for strength and weakness.
Yes, absolutely. But
Okay.
with saying that, it's an educated
Boats being obstructed bottom up. We tell you the cause for that. You say, go fuck yourself.
question. So
It's not fair.
if we end up in a discussion about what's the difference between mass and weight, and people by design or by accident misunderstanding that weight and mass are completely different things, then it becomes an uneducated shit show. And that's where we're wasting time. So yes, questions, but educated ones.
Yeah, and you want to, and you want things need to be then explained properly and in response to and actually addressing the questions that are being asked. Like you can't divert away and try to start answering something else or talk about something else. You want to be focused on addressing the matter, talking about mechanisms, talking about what's observed, what the data is, and then try to, because like part of and in the scientific method, when one of the things is your conclusion, so how you conclude your interpretation of the data, and that's where certain biases can come in. If you have a hypothesis that you're looking to form, you might conclude trying to tie it into your hypothesis. So there is something where you're going to observe the observable data, and then there's that step after where you can get your biases or your twists or what you're trying to show that is a support of or falsifier of.
So if you do science properly, you set up a hypothesis and then try to disprove the hypothesis.
Mm-hmm.
So this is also the issue where flat earthers say, you're always trying to prove something. No, in science you don't. You always try to disprove a hypothesis. So as long as there's no clear disproof of your hypothesis, you're going to say, oh, it's not disproven yet. You'll never argue it's proven, because there's always going to be conflating factors that you don't keep in mind. This is where I agree with some flat earthers saying, it could be this, it could be that. Yes, but you have not proven it. Sorry, so, you have not used it to disprove the hypothesis.
Maybe for like a visual example, so like something with like say Airy's failure, for example, the experiment where he puts the water, he tilts the telescope, he looks at the starlight and measures the aberration of the light. Yep. So you would have an experiment like that. And so say any person sets up an experiment and then they carry out the experiment and then they get their observed result. Now, what you have with that observed result would be, say you have 26 variations of ether. That could be 26 different hypotheses of different ethers, different characteristics and qualities that they each have. So say you run an experiment, what you would do is say ethers A through M were supported by the observation, and then ethers N through Z were not supported by the observation. So what you would have done with that experiment is you would have falsified those N through Z, and now those are unconsidered. We can discard those because they've been falsified. So now you would take your remaining half-life or your remaining group, and you would say, now we can set up another experiment, and maybe A through F. We set up an experiment and we get observational data that shows A through F is accurate ethers, and then G through M are falsified by this next observation, because you're compounding these experiments are trying to simulate nature. So every time you set up a new natural condition, you're going to continue to refine and falsify into smaller groups that are able to withstand all of this scrutiny from empirical testing and experimentalization. And then you're going to be left with hypotheses that are well supported by various carried out experiments that have supported the claims of the qualities and characteristics of, ether or mass or whatever you want to call it. You're going to be whittling down through, like you said, like falsifying these. When you set an experiment up,
all I'm hearing is this. That's all I'm hearing, man. Are you leaving, West Side? Thanks for stopping in.
You can't really prove something because we don't know all the variables, but you can falsify what is no longer possible because something might claim something contrary to what was just observed and therefore be falsified unless explained or recontorted in some way.
So in principle, your idea is right. In practice, it doesn't fit with Airy's failure. So you use the wrong example for the right argument.
Okay.
What was the hypothesis of Airy's failure?
Well, it was to determine the motion of the ether, and so there are various models, like certain. If you claim
No,
a
that
moving,
was not the hypothesis. As far as I remember, Airy's failure, the hypothesis was that if we use water in a telescope, it would slow down the speed of light.
yes, and you would have to tilt the telescope further
Why would you need to tilt the telescope?
to account for the deviation of the traveling path of light, so that it doesn't bank into the edge of the telescope, so that the light, if you tilt it, the light now can travel along its curved route and get to the eyepiece so that it can be received.
And what were the conclusions of that hypothesis?
That they did not have to tilt the telescope, so the angle of light is already at the same rate, which would imply a stationary Earth with a moving sky, which is relative.
So they disproved our hypothesis.
They would have, well, if they show a stationary, well, they would have failed because I believe they were globe advocates, and they showed the Earth was stationary, which would falsify their preconceived worldview or their.
That's the bias you bring in there. They assumed that using a tilted telescope, they would change the path of the light.
Okay, so that could be an assumption. If the Earth is, that is what you are trying to test out. If the Earth is moving,
no, that was not
do
what I
you
was
really
trying
need to tilt the telescope?
You need to go back to the hypothesis of Airy's failure, and then realize that with the word failure, they failed to prove their hypothesis.
Hold on real quick, because that is I think that might be a little bit semantical, because we are the ones who named it or called it Airy's failure. Like it's the colloquial adage that's thrown around to label that experiment, because that experiment did produce a result that supports a biblical geocentric Earth, and that for a group of
part of their hypothesis.
Say that again.
What was the hypothesis of Airy?
There we go. Airy's failure hypothesis. The ether theory predicted that the speed of light would be affected by the ether's motion, and that a water-filled telescope would produce a different value of stellar aberration compared to an air-filled one. The theory is, in the 19th century, scientists believed that light traveled through a medium called the ether, and that the Earth moved through this ether. It's not that he was trying to prove that the Earth moved. They were trying to prove that it needed an ether to move through.
What is it, Airy? I don't know.
Airy, yeah. Well, it was to determine if the telescope needed to be tilted or not to allow the starlight to make it all the way to the observer.
Yes.
With the water
medium.
It doesn't. Yes, it does not need to be tilted.
That's the only conclusion that you can take from that experiment. Not that it is in line with biblical cosmology. Not that the Earth doesn't move. It is simply.
Oh yeah, he's a religious nutter.
That there is no need to tilt the telescope for that purpose.
But wouldn't you need to?
See, they'll believe that a mythological being, like a celestial from the Marvel universe, created the universe and everything in it in 6 days, rested on the 7th, because he gets tuckered out, and that there's nothing beyond the sky, and but they won't believe science. He won't believe measurements and facts.
To tilt the telescope, if the Earth was moving under the light would be stationary. The source of light would be stationary, and the Earth would turn underneath that light. So as the telescope passed and caught the light, it would keep moving and hit the light and cause you to have to tilt the telescope.
I mean, I've not researched it. I probably should, but I'm not really researched it. From what I could gather, it proved there isn't an ether. It's a failure. It's called failure for a reason.
To be able to then allow that, let's see, the telescope's this. So you would have to tilt the telescope so that the light can continue to travel through the telescope. If the Earth is moving, because the starlight from a stationary sky and a moving Earth, the starlight would go straight and the telescope would move.
Oh, Kash Patel. They discovered that the government's been hacked. They hacked everybody in the government, and it was kind of easy to hack this guy. His password was really easy to guess. It's just two eyes real close together.
Move in and then eventually smack the light and prevent it from being able to reach. So that's why they said we would tilt the telescope if the Earth was a globe to accommodate getting the light to reach the final destination spot. But they didn't tilt it because the telescope is stationary and the starlight passes.
No, you can't say that.
The starlight passes, and once the starlight is straight on, the light just has a straight path right to it.
Starlight, star bright. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
That's
my nursery rhyme.
So that's a stationary telescope then, because the light is going and hitting.
Not necessarily.
Because it's not moving. If the telescope was moving with the rotating of the Earth, they would hit, but then the telescope would keep rotating and cause the light to disappear over here. It's got to stay under my palm. But if the Earth is moving, it's going to eventually go like this, and that's where you would not see the source.
Yes, that could be one explanation for their findings.
Yeah, so it's
results, and the results may or may not be what they expected or what they liked. It was still results.
Yes, and
you
then you would have to
make any other conclusions from those results other than that their method, their approach that they had, didn't yield those results. You cannot say anything about the telescope, whether or not it's moving or stationary. It may simply be because their methods are wrong.
Yeah, any person would have to take the observed result, and then they would have to add that to their worldview and say, this was the result when these conditions were set up. And now you would have to say you can decide between a moving or still Earth. You would have to then say, can we set another experiment up that can further cleave to one side or the other and say which side is more supported. Now that we take those conditions, we stack them with other conditions, and then those should create a false or a stationary supported position through science, because nature is trying to, through science, reveal and how it fundamentally operates to us to be able to understand that science.
Yes, but again, when an experiment is being done, there are clearly set variables that they want to check, and they did not find the assumed relation between the cause and effect in this case. So you cannot make any decisions on beyond the experiment what they really wanted to do.
Okay. So for your claim for like deception, are you saying that there could be due to flat earthers, maybe lack of, we'll say like even formal education and not having those precise definitions given to
Dude, you don't even have an informal education
them about what methodology?
there's like zero education at all.
Means, or what scientific method means, or hypothesis or theory, things like that. Like people will say evolution is just a theory, and that has a certain way of being interpreted by someone who's scientifically educated. If you tell them it's a theory, they're hearing it's supported by tons of evidence from various fields and disciplines that all show and support the same narrative. And so, but to most people, the word theory means idea, like it's just an idea. And that's what the meaning is. When someone says evolution is just a theory, people are saying evolution is just an idea, a word.
No, they're not. When they say that evolution is a theory, they're saying it's supported with evidence to a very high extent. That's what they're saying. You say it's just a theory because that's what people you think you think that means just what people think. You know, it's just what an idea. But no, it's not, man.
Worldview of how, but they're using the word theory that gets misinterpreted due to the formal education that scientists will get. And so with the deception, so flat earthers will have certain.
So if you find yourself speaking a different language with people, and those people who are speaking the different language are making more sense than you, and have proven that they could speak that language better than you, why are you arguing with them?
Definitions of words or views or interpretations of what a word means.
I mean, basically they're saying, you know, you're smart and all, but you're just dumb.
And how it is used, and there needs to be for science to really
I don't know as much as you, but I'm smarter than you.
progress. Things need to be very clearly defined, and then those words need to be used when they need to be used, and not like misinterpreted at other times where they shouldn't be used, because you need to accurately convey what is going on, what phenomenon are happening, and you're trying to be as tangible and as understandable as you can be.
Right, and you not understanding the techno talk, the techno speak, you not understanding that shit is not our problem. I mean, you act like, you know, well, you say think different things and you say different words, and that's a problem because we can't understand them. Well, that's your problem. If you can understand shit, it's not on us, man.
So do you think maybe like for
You know, if you go to drive for an IndyCar team and you don't even have a fucking driver's license, they're not going to take you very seriously.
flat earthers who might misuse like scientific method or something like that, do you think that they're
Oh, they don't misuse the scientific method. They've never used it at all, ever. There's no part of flat Earth that's been put through the scientific method. Not boats going over the horizon, not sunsets, not anything, not perspective, not the black swan, nothing about the flat earth that is even related to the scientific method. So don't even fucking say those words.
needs like that
Shame on you.
communicating definitions would be helpful, or
Those definitions have already been communicated. This is stuff you learn at BSc level, MSc level, and especially PhD level. We don't need.
Yeah, I mean, all this stuff that these guys are arguing, we all learned in grade school, but somehow they think they're right about it.
To talk about anymore what is meant in science with a theory.
yeah, true. It's but if someone is never educated that theory has a certain meaning, alternate meaning than what is typically perceived it to be meaning, that is something you would want to inform that audience of, because that's important to know that there are different definitions and different ways of doing science as well. Like for
okay,
like,
let me try to a practical example. I studied I studied forestry, and in forestry we use the word reiteration.
Mhm.
This is a very specific word, technical jargon in the science of it and in the practicalities of it.
in forestry.
In forestry.
the
What
term
do you think
reiteration.
a reiteration in forestry means?
You want me to guess at the definition?
Yes.
Okay, so reiteration in forestry, if I had to guess using the text of forestry, because that's, and I think want to point out to everyone here, like what I think what you're trying to say is like if you have very specialized fields are going to use words that might outside of that field have a certain meaning, but in that field mean something maybe similar, but maybe also different. But I would say, based on my understanding of the word reiteration in a outside of that field context, and then trying to put it into forestry, I would say the term reiteration in forestry might have something to do with future culturing of seeds, like something to do with reproduction of trees and how to and their birthing and trying to maintain forests, or how well you can maintain forests with certain abilities to breed and procreate new tree populations. That's my guess.
So no, that's completely wrong. I understand where you're coming from. It's a good argument. If you have a tree, if a tree grows, you basically have a small seed that grows horizontal, then creates vertical branches. And from those vertical branches, it can recreate again horizontal branches. That would be called within forestry, the way a tree grows, it reiterates its growth patterns. So a horizontal branch will be a reiteration of the horizontal.
Right, same as fractals. Hey, Sully. Same as fractals.
Ball.
Every time a fractal replicates or reproduces itself, that's a reiteration.
And the vertical branches
Every time a pattern repeats
would be reiterations of the vertical branches.
So so reiteration would have to do with the branch structure itself, the tree structure itself, and how it reiterates like a crystalline pattern, a repeating alternate pattern of vertical, horizontal, and each tree might have this tree reiterates its horizontal at 5 degrees versus this tree that reiterates its horizontal at 4 degrees.
Exactly.
And so they would have specific characteristics that would allow them to be identified based on their reiteration patterns, which again, I mean, reiteration is like if I define reiteration, if I look up the definition of reiteration, it's to say something again a number of times for clarity. So it would be like there are different definitions, and this is where science, and this is communicating science is very I think defining terms and everything is a very good idea with people, because you want to make sure things are being interpreted a certain way based on the context of what you're saying. If someone doesn't know the definition of reiteration, when they hear you use it in forestry, someone might think you're trying to say something similar, and because they hear reiteration or trying to say something multiple times. And if they don't hypothetically say their definition of reiteration is saying something multiple times, and then use the word reiteration of the vertical and horizontal branches.
I'm trying something new. I got a few months ago. I got a filament joiner. It's like a little device that heats up the filament and just hot enough that it squishes together, so you can join like a short piece off a spool to a larger spool. So I tried it to see if it goes through. So the next color is black. So if you start seeing black coming through, that means it worked.
They might be
It's kind of worried I'd get the size of, squish it too much and it like splooge out and get too thick. Because if it's too thick, it won't go through the system.
expecting you to reiterate and talk about horizontal and vertical, or they might expect you to say something multiple times.
So the crux what I was getting to, this was a highly technical term.
Yes.
That once I explained in the very basic issues, you expanded on it and were able to capture it in much better way than I could have explained it. If we have to do that ad nauseum, explaining what the difference between theory and a hypothesis is, we end up an hour having to explain all the definitions that you can find online. in order to have a 5-minute discussion about what the term means. And that's where you go into, okay, this is where I feel that many flat earthers are simply sea lining, always asking the same question over and over and over and over again, because they think that a theory in science must mean exactly the same thing as their use of the word theory. And this is where
when it's not, it's different.
If you have a theory in science versus a law in science, not even the laws are 100%. And if we look in real life, all our laws are also not 100% implementable. There's always people looking for gaps in the laws and trying to benefit from that. So in a way, it's exactly the same as real life, except some people decide that they're going to go with a very narrow definition and then going to argue against the generic understanding of terms in order to score a point.
And that word might be something where you might want to, if you're talking with someone and they have this narrow idea of what a definition is, you might want to say, this group of people, this profession of foresters, they will use a word like reiteration and it'll have a specific professional use case meaning of the word. And so that would be where you would want to,
Well, it's like Dr. Nick Riviera. It's like flammable and inflammable mean the same thing.
there would be a sense of respect for the conversation and to allow it to progress forward. That person who has a preconceived idea of reiteration for the conversation, they should allow you to be able to use the word reiteration with this alternate technical forestry related definition, because it allows for the progression and for any point or whatever information you're trying to convey. It allows for that point to be made or that information to be conveyed so that we can get around having multiple or hours of discussion of just defining terms and everything. But that, and that's one of the struggles of communication, as an amazing thing as it is. But it is, there's some nuance and technicality and some depth that has to be unpacked at some level or at some point, or if you can have civil and mutual respect for each other and let someone acknowledge and use a term of a word a certain way for their discussion or their conversation additions.
Yep.
Okay. Would you?
And this is where you stand out from the crowd. I mean, there is a few flat earthers around that will go bend over backwards to argue, for instance, flat plane. The flat plane in science is something completely different than what flat earthers say. And you, with the example of reiteration, you are simply able to grasp it. What I mean, you expanded on it and improved on it. That's where you are different from the average flat earther. You're able to see beyond the rhetoric from flat earth and see how things are meant within a discussion.
Well, thank you. It's I believe, really thank you, because I feel this conversation is very important and very worth having. And like, I know even to some like who maybe are on a globe or something that flat earth is a complete and total laughing stock, but I would hope both sides would be able to acknowledge, like, part of why I try to be as respectful in the conversation as I can is because this matter of cosmology, well, the earth has a shape one way or the other, whatever it is, but I think we all, as humanity, or decent human beings, I think we can relate that my thing is regardless of the shape of the earth, like, there are some crooked people out there. There are plenty of resources on the earth and so many good people. This earth could be very good if people chose those actions, like it's free will and everything. So I thank you, because I wanted the more cordial and respectful and polite that I feel like people can be, then I feel like we can have more conversation, more fruitful and productive conversation where more information gets shared. And information is how we can accomplish things and do things and get at certain issues and everything that can then help progress science. Like, science leads to technology, leads to better quality of life and everything. And I feel like that stuff, when people share, are able to speak and make progress in conversations, I think that a lot of good happens from.
I made a decision. Before I got the bigger resin printer, I was going to put the router, the CNC router in that room. And number one, there's not enough space for both of them, and number two, I wouldn't want to put something that creates that much dust in a room where I kind of need things to be dust free in a way. Um, if I get a big enough piece of dust underneath the bed or the tank, it could either puncture the tank or create a blank spot in the print and get a hole. So anyway, what I've decided is I'm just gonna put it in the living room, the router, but I'm gonna create a enclosure that lifts up off of it, like hinged at the back, so I can lift it up and put the wood in it and then close it down and then latch it shut, and it'll be sealed so no dust can get out, and it'll have a vacuum hooked up to it. And if I want to like pause the print and measure something or adjust something or do something while it's closed up, I'll have a plexiglass window that's hinged, that's latchable and sealable, that I can lift up and like put something in place or whatever, and then close it back down. So I thought about it, and I think that'll work. I think that'll work.
From that. So really, thank you for that. Do you mind? Do you want me to share my next
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
deception or a thing that appears? So this one I clipped. This is from Jaren. This here is SpaceX, and this is a live of SpaceX, a live stream where they had filmed a landing, and they showed these rockets on a live stream. They showed these rockets landing on a white circle pad with a black X in the middle. What's that?
You're not sharing the screen. I can only hear the sound a little bit.
Oops.
Sorry.
My bad. Let me. Okay. Present, share screen, entire screen. Click there. Click share. Back to here. Okay, so this here, these are the X's that it shows these rockets landing on. And these pads here, it's the circle white pad with the black X, and this is on a live stream, and so when you do a live stream on YouTube, it'll say like going live, and then it'll say that a video will be live. And actually, like in YouTube, if you click on a channel, there will be videos that a channel makes, and then there will also be like their live videos. And so if you do a live stream or something, it goes into that live section. If you upload a video that was like produced, then it will go to your video section. And you cannot edit live streams or anything, or like it'll say edited. Same like with comments and stuff. If you edit a comment, it'll say edited comment or whatever. So this was in the original launch of SpaceX. The rockets were landing on the live stream on these black X white circle pads, and then later Elon was able to have these video or the live stream videos edited, and you actually get the rocket landing. One of them here on the left side here. This one is landing on the same circle pad with the black X, but this one over here has a circle white pad, but then on the inside is a black circle, and then the inside of that is a white X. And so this is this is a live stream that shows the rocket landing on one pad at one time during their first broadcast of the live stream. But then the second time when you go back, it shows something else. And so what that does is if you live stream something, it's what happens. And then if you change that, you would essentially be like changing what might have happened during that broadcast, that live stream. And so Elon, like no one's heard of or reported anyone else being able to edit a live stream once you upload it.
Hi, Lisa.
That is what it is. And so what do you think about like a space program being able to being able to make an edit like that and being able to change and alter something that was promoted as the documenting of their accomplishment of this rocket launch and the landing and recapturing of the craft. They were able to change that and change the landing pads for whatever that may mean, whatever that edit may mean. They were able to make that edit. So what do you think about that?
I don't know. It doesn't matter to me. So what would be the purpose of the white X versus the black X?
That might be superficial. Like it might not mean anything. It could, but the point is that like if I like I have a gray sweatshirt on. Like if I edited this and then put a red sweatshirt on, like I would, it would be not a true representation of reality. So like if say what. Now we can ask the question.
I'm not arguing for whether it's edited or not. I'm asking you, what would be the purpose of using a white X versus a black X in this case?
I don't think there would be one necessarily. What a purpose could be for those X's is I could ask you, what color pad does the rocket land on? And you would now not be able to tell me just a black X because it could be a white X. So I could say, what color pad did the rocket land on for that stream?
Bring it down to more basic. What would be the purpose in this case with two rockets landing at different spots? Would be the use of a white X versus a black X?
Well, it shows the two rockets, and in the first upload of the stream, the first time they released the live stream, there was two of the same pads.
He's got a lot of words, doesn't he?
Think of a practical reason for why there would be one white X and why there would be one black X.
So the practical reason would be maybe you have rocket A land on the white X and rocket B land on the black X, but the first time that they released that live stream, both of the pads were the same. They were both black X pads. So those rockets that point of differentiating landing pads isn't really there because at the first time it was the same color at black X to A, black X to B, but they edited the live stream, and so now they show two different X's. So the why this would become a relevant matter would be because say that live stream we were watching it together the first time, both of us would tell each other, yeah, we watched the rockets both land on a black X landing pad. And then that would be the reality that we saw. But now if I went back and I watched the live stream again and I watched it land on now a white X for the B rocket, I would be saying, oh, I watched it land and one of them was on a white X and one was on a black X. And if you had not watched the newly edited live stream, because now you would be reporting on both rockets landing on black X's when the change has happened. And now you are saying something inaccurate to what the live stream is showing. But we watch the same thing happen in real time.
The conclusion, what I take from it is, okay, there were clearly two different pads. The reason for those two different pads is so humans can quickly distinguish between which is the left pad and which is the right pad.
Yeah, I don't think Jack's getting it. See, the problem is they both left and right videos were the same feed. They were the exact same feed, and then then later on, it all of a sudden one was different. So I can see why they're questioning it.
Computers don't need that. They know exactly where they are. But for the supervisors, they need a distinguishing feature.
I mean, the only explanation I could give is who said billionaires have contacts? Yeah. He said, okay, we need this changed.
Feature between the two pads so they can.
I mean, you can if you upload a video that has copyrighted stuff in it, sometimes YouTube will say, "Hey, could you we've taken this down unless you change this, either remove the video or change something about it," and they give you options to change it. Maybe they worked a deal out like that.
Quickly see which is which.
So do you think in that first live stream when both landing pads were white circles with black X's, what do you think that they weren't able to identify the pads, or that they like, do you think in reality they're two different pads? In the first live stream they had made them both look
No, I think
similar,
they're showing
or
the same pad. There was a mistake being made in the live streaming where both the pads showed the same pad.
And then they just changed it
showed
later.
them landing on the same pad when in reality they were actually landing on the different pads, the black pad and the white pad?
Yeah.
Okay, so it could be an editor
The original
technical
stream
glitch.
showed both the same colors. Then there was a mistake being made in live streaming that they both sides showed the same footage.
That would be okay. So and that could be, there could be a glitch, or they go back in and they edit it and they change it and say, we're just going to, for the visual presentation of it for the audience, so it can be more clarifying to them, we'll change this second, or this B pad, we'll change it to a black so that it's more identifiable. But there is still kind of the matter of like live stream not. What's it?
Look, pleasing the audiences was never a task of NASA. If there
I
was,
think that's very apparent. I think I agree with that 100%. I don't think they want to do anything for it.
They wouldn't care. They wouldn't edit it for the reason to make it clearer for the audience. I
Okay.
think, and
Yeah, see, that's the main reason why they don't put a camera on the moon looking at the Earth, because NASA doesn't have to prove that the Earth is a sphere.
there is something that you could look
They don't give a shit about flat earthers and their little wants and desires.
into. I think there was a clear reason why those pads were differently colored, and that's simply the computer.
I'm printing a pedestal with a little holder for Apache H airbrush, or any airbrush really, but I don't have a stand for my Apaches.
Doesn't need it. The audience doesn't need it. So it's probably for the reason is the human supervisors must be easily recognize which is which. And the human supervisors weren't watching the live stream. That was managed by a completely different set of people, and they probably screwed up some way.
Because if in reality, if those pads are two different colors, those supervisors there who are watching the landing, they would be seeing two different color pads, because that would be reality. It would just be this technical glitch or whatever happened, that the first live stream presentation showed two same color pads. So what do you think that would, like, what if in reality, what if my sweatshirt really is red, and that this live stream has been a glitch, and that do you think I would be able to go in later and edit something or change it so that I can make it look like I'm wearing a red sweatshirt?
Yeah. Well,
and keep it say live.
To the issue, there is where it's a valid argument that YouTube allowed it to be changed, if it indeed was changed. If it was a live stream and they later said, "Hey, we screwed up," the live stream showed the same footage for both rockets.
You should make a notation for acknowledging that change, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, yes, and that's the kind of the summary of the, if there was a change or a technicality or whatever, and they had to edit something.
Yeah, absolutely. They should have noted. They should have notated that somewhere. You know.
It's fine to make an edit and to, I would rather edit something wrong and make it right so that it's more accurate. So like, as long as if you're going to make an edit or something, that's fine. But then you should make a mention of that an edit was made. And so that would be because on this video from the live stream from SpaceX, there is no mentioning that altered version is any different from what was originally broadcast with the first publication of that live stream. So that's where I think there would be some deception there. So that was my second point. I kind of
that's not necessarily deception by Globe Earth. I mean, this is just a deal being made between YouTube and what is the other one?
SpaceX,
or whatever, SpaceX.
Yeah, I mean, and it could be because there could be like special government contracts or whatever, and things got to be portrayed a certain way. I'm not necessarily a big fan of Elon and everything like that.
Yeah.
He had a weird Twitter profile picture for a while there with the certain costume of darkness that I'm not don't want to really associate with. I don't know why anyone would. That's pretty odd, but I don't know. Maybe he likes certain artists or whatever.
Well, you know, the gesture that he made that was very much like a Nazi salute was quite cringe, and you go like, "Why the hell did you do that?"
Yeah, that was very, very strange and peculiar. And yeah, he's that was odd. That was odd. I think what he like was saying was like it was his heart and like from my heart to cast it out to everybody. So by doing like a covering, you're like,
yeah, exactly,
you know,
yeah.
But it looked kind of a little.
No, it was a Nazi salute. Exactly like an SS Nazi salute. Because that's what it was.
Strange. So
And he did it twice.
I agree. So what do you want to would you want to present your second evidence of any and I
emailed you a small picture. Maybe you can put it.
You know, you may think that the N word is short for ninjas. But if you go say the N word in Harlem, they're gonna beat the living shit out of you.
Put it up.
Let me check here.
It's a quick screenshot I took from a recent Flat Earth stream. I don't even know by whom it was anymore, and who made his argument.
I think I'm picture here with a guy standing under a dome with
exactly,
vision cone. Okay. All right, then let me go to here, present screen share. All right. How's that?
Yeah, looks good. It's a bit double anyway, doesn't matter. So this is how often the flat earthers depict geodesy. And I've done quite a fair amount of geodetic surveying in my time. I even have one lying around here. I forgot to unpack it. And they argue, you know, the flat plane, you need a flat baseline, etc., etc. Here is where a huge mistake is being made. In the picture also, you see the flat plane starting at the observer's feet, basically. You can have a bit of an argument where it starts, where he's looking from.
Hi, local observations. How you doing?
Geodetic planes are not being
He's
established.
Definitely not coming out of his head.
Yeah, the wrong head. Geodetic planes are basically made from eye level. And there is an infinite amount of them being used. If you look at the basic pictures of geodetic surveying, you will see that the one observer point is different from the other one. So when you do geodetic surveying, you basically use an infinite number of planes. Horizontal from your perpendicular from your vertical.
Yeah,
the next
starting reference.
Yeah, so you basically set a reference point based on one point, normally at ground level or simply 20 centimeters above ground level. You then, for your first observation, you move it to eye level. So that's already a second plane. If you then move
to the eye level height.
Yes.
Okay, so initial measurement is taken at 20 centimeters. Second horizontal plane would be at the eye level of the observer.
And then every time you move your your observation tools, you set a new reference frame, and you simply measure between your measuring rod and your equipment. You measure the height differences. So that being horizontal at eye level doesn't mean that it's also horizontal at the ground. So this argument is a clear misrepresentation of what geodesy does.
I just curious. So you say like if you something at eye level is not horizontal, looking at something, it wouldn't be horizontal if you look from the ground. Wouldn't each if every elevation is its own horizontal plane, wouldn't each elevation have a corresponding distant object that it is horizontal and level and equal in elevation to? Like if I look out at someone who is my height, our heads are at the same level, but our kneecaps are also at the same level. I couldn't keep a flat horizontal plane and look at a kneecap. I would have to look down, and my kneecap would have to look up to see the head of someone standing across from me. So you have to adjust your. So I might be getting off, but I'll let you keep going here, and then we'll get into it a little more.
So your eye
You're welcome.
level is not the same as my eye level. That's already different. We all have slightly different changes in parallax. We have slightly different changes in eye width, etc., etc. Length is different. So as soon as you move your equipment,
field of view.
Field of view is also different for everybody.
Yes, because it's determined by where you're standing, your elevation, how much ground and sky.
The characteristics of your eyes, etc.
Yes.
So the horizontal the horizontal baseline does not represent the earth under it, the ground under it. It's simply an imaginary flat plane that we set using our tools, and it does not represent the ground under it at all. So that's where
being used as a reference to be able to measure your angle to whatever elevation, whatever elevated object you're looking at. You want to use a flat baseline off of that instrument to be able to more easily derive the angle to that object.
More accurately. You can always derive an angle. You can always see it's uphill, downhill, incline, decline.
Yeah.
That's quite easy. But for geodesy, we need to do it very accurately. You need to know exactly what the incline is. I mean, if you do large amount of earth movements, you want to reduce the amount of fill, cut, and fill to make it as optimal as possible, but also avoid that you need to bring in a lot of earth or take it out. So you always want to use programs and stuff like that, calculations that you get minimum amount of waste, minimum amount of materials you need to bring in with the maximum results. So it's simply all kinds of calculations that you do with setting an infinite number of planes.
And so, like you're saying, how though that plane is just it's a concept. Like that person,
yes.
We see that person standing on this green circle or ellipse or whatever, but we'll just say it's a circle from a top-down view. This person is standing on the circle. Theoretically, if that was just an imaginary circle, underneath that person's feet could be a massive spherical object. It could be a flat earth. He could be standing on the point of a mountain.
No,
he is using that wherever his instrument is, where his observation is starting from, that is the plane that the instrument is going to use, regardless of what's under or above.
No.
And then whatever is being looked at, up or down, the angle is going to be taken from that horizontal established baseline, regardless and irrelevant to whatever is surrounding that horizontal.
If you want to take the deception out of this picture, you would need to show the green plane at the height of the eyes. It's an imaginary plane that doesn't physically exist. That's all around the eye height of the observer. And the flat baseline is an imaginary line, again,
Sorry for yawning so much.
at eye level, that has no bearing at all on the ground or under it, where the observer is standing.
I think that's fair. That's a fair. They're using a concept of measuring an angle from a flat baseline, and it's like if I was standing on one of those like balance balls. I'm clearly standing on a rounded object, but I can use a flat baseline and to measure an angle it would happen to be tangent to the object I'm standing on. But if I switch that object to like a standing block or whatever, and I stand on a box, that would be I can still use a flat baseline. So maybe what you're trying to say, like there are people who are misusing the concept of a flat baseline.
Yes.
To try to
They're suggesting
extrapolate
that the
that
flat
out.
baseline is the same as the flat Earth under it, which is absolute nonsense. We can put the equipment on a curved slope, and we can still extrapolate that slope from the data that we get using the imaginary flat baselines.
And so right there, I think would the key word there be could? Like you could use a flat Earth, you could use a curved slope, yes. you could use any sort of shape, but you are using the flat baseline atop that shape, and then referencing that baseline, regardless of what your preconceived idea is about what is under that baseline.
Well, you don't even need to preconceive anything. You can simply take your hard measurements, and using the data from those measurements, you can identify whether or not you're on an incline, a decline, a curve, or a complete flat one. It makes no matter to the instrument where it's on.
I would agree that, yeah, your measurements are going to reveal, assuming you have enough variables accounted for and enough knowledge of the conditions of the environment that you're measuring, you would be able to use tools and to set up measurements and record data, and then you would be able to chart and plot that data and reveal. Like I definitely do believe that we are intelligent enough to and capable enough to create these devices that allow us to make these measurements. We can plot out and know the shape of the ground, like the topography of the ground and elevations of mountain peaks and how low basins are in the water and things like that. Like we have the ability to gauge, measure, and record the data for altitudes and elevations and in the troughs and valleys that are on the earth. So yeah.
I just finished with season 3 of the Blacklist, and yeah, the last 2 episodes are fucking awesome.
100% agree.
So that was the point I wanted to make. The next one will be flat baseline. It was basically the deception being used in suggesting that a flat baseline means a flat Earth. That relationship is not there, and that's a blatant lie to even suggest.
Right, they get that from Nathan Oakley and Quantum Erasure, where they said that, and 10th Man Rising, where they say you measure the to the horizon, right? When you use a sextant, you bring the sun down to the horizon, and then you take your height and you subtract your height from your reading. So it puts the observation down to the water. That's where they get that.
Suggest that you need a flat baseline, therefore it's flat Earth.
Yeah, you don't need a flat the Earth, because a flat baseline is being used. That doesn't mean the Earth is flat. You could use a flat baseline off of a sphere. But if you're trying to determine the shape, you're going to need to have multiple measurements be made and then collaborate them and put them together and try to determine what is being observed on a grander scale than any one observation or any one data point.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. Next one.
I agree. Yep, I agree. And that's I feel like Jack of all trades and I, like we've talked a couple times, and I like having a conversation with this man. He's it's there's reasonable and stuff, and he's funny and stuff too. So, but so I do I want to. Did you want to? I guess we're getting a little bit out of time here. Do you want to ask any other things before like any questions or anything? Because I want with TFE and all that. Like, do you want to ask anything or whatever?
TFE, go for it. This was an interesting exercise. It's really interesting to talk about that one.
Yeah, it's has been a good time. If you want, I I could maybe check the comments here and see if there's any questions. If anybody's got anything and wants to ask. I don't know. I don't normally look at comments or anything until
I always look in the afterwards. I never almost forget about it.
Anyway, do you have any? I guess we can, because I know you gotta. Can I ask you what is something like? If would you be willing to share like what is something very intriguing about forestry, or like I think people love trees for the oxygen and everything they provide and shade on a hot day and fruit. Actually, real quick, I wanted to just with like heart disease or with heart or medical and stuff. Actually, so with science and the different methods that we have, one of in the pharmaceutical, there's something called randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled studies, and so those would be
The Mendocino Coast or the Coast College, the community college here in town, offers a forestry degree.
things where like the participants don't know if they're getting the control or the dependent variable, and the observers aren't sure either, and then you flip sides and everything, and then you and you have these control variables and everything. So certain standards of science, like this standard of randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled, randomized controlled trials and everything like that, though certain parameters are in place, but you can't always use certain standards and certain methods to extrapolate those out to other tests that you're trying to carry out. Like pharmaceuticals, because it's in a pill, you can create a placebo pill very easily that simulates and looks like that pill, and it's a placebo sugar pill. But like if you're doing something with like nutrition, with food and diet, it's a lot harder to fake certain substances. Like you can't necessarily always pulverize dry blueberries and then put them in a pill to test it. So certain methods might apply very well to one area of practice, but might not have as much application in another area of practice. So I just something to add to the various methods. It's about what methods work for what, how can you improve on methods, and then making sure you can execute those methods in your experimental steps as well. But anyway, so I did want to make sure I added that in real quick. But would you want to throw anything out there about forestry, or what drives you to it? Like why do the trees call to you?
Well, the interesting part would be for me is that some people argue that gases are being produced at ground level because trees produce oxygen.
No, they convert carbon dioxide to oxygen, but they don't create gas.
And you go like, guys, have you never thought about this idea that you get CO2, H2O, and that those are being used to create tree? So you would actually be taking away, a tree would takes away the volume of gas from CO2 to extract carbon from it and grow tree. That would be my only argument in there. Your point making a few fancy words about.
Yeah, they're actually, good point. They're actually taking gas away.
Randomized, double-blind. What was it again? The third one?
Placebo-controlled.
Placebo control. So randomized is quite normal. This is simple statistics. When you take smaller samples, you want to make it as random as possible to make sure that you catch as much as possible the variability in the sample. Double blind is quite important. Do you know what double blind is?
It's an unawareness of participants to what group they're contributing to, and an unawareness of like the administrators of that supplement or whatever they're giving to the groups. They are not sure which group they're giving to who either.
Yep.
So
yeah, and also they don't
you
know
might have a bias of like what's that?
Yeah, they also don't know the names of the patients.
Yes, so it's a lot of anonymity.
Yeah, exactly. Anonymity guaranteed. You avoid a bias from both sides. That so the patient doesn't know what medicine he gets, and the administrator doesn't know what the name of the patient is, to avoid any bias that could be perceived in the experiment. So double-blind are quite normal in peer review and these kinds of social studies. You avoid sharing the unnecessary detail that may invoke a bias by the analyst. And then a placebo, yeah, we all know this. I mean, the human body
Placebos
is
are
kind of
fascinating.
amazing that you can heal yourself by simply thinking about it.
Yeah, just feeling like you're doing something effective for yourself can be enough to put you over the edge. That kind of says a lot about like doomsday prognoses by like doctors and everything. Oh, you only have 2 months to live or whatever. Like those kinds of things can have very severe consequences and outcomes to the patient. Like having a positive mindset, and that's part of like having people around you, people to talk to and everything. And you should always talk to people, by the way, if you have like something on your mind or whatever, talk to people. But it's like you want to, if you can have a positive outlook on things, it can go a long way in getting you better in a lot of instances.
That's a good way of looking at things.
So it's really kind of perplexing for
It is
in a lot of ways. So
but the mind works the same way. It's really important that you keep questioning your own assumptions and ideas.
Refine them. Yeah. Oh, we're real quick.
Going about 15 minutes.
Yeah, let's. I'll let you go here. Would you just want to? Could you say one more time about the trees? Did you say that a tree, like the amount of carbon that it uses when it's growing, takes away more oxygen from the air to make than
no. Well, a tree uses carbon dioxide, CO2, and water, H2O, to create carbohydrates. It uses the C and the A through photosynthesis. So if you're going to make an argument that trees produce oxygen and therefore create gas pressure, you forget that they take quite a lot of compounds from the CO2 to create carbohydroxide.
Okay, so there's
air pressure.
So you're talking about the exchange of gases from one side. What a tree will take in is it gonna be roughly equal to what it puts out?
It's gonna be much smaller what they put out than they would put in.
So it's so trees are actually more consuming of gas than they expel.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. I guess I have not looked into the efficiency of the photosynthesis process. That would be.
Well, you can simply do it by mass. I mean, if you look at water and carbon dioxide,
atomic mass
is
the
tree growth in there. The mass must come from somewhere, and it's not only from H.
Yeah, that's a good point. Wow. Okay, that's that's neat. That's neat. Do you have anything else before? I guess we could probably call it here. It's been we've been at this for a little bit here, so I know you got anything else before. I mean, if you're good to end it here or anything, anything else?
No, not at the moment. Still wanted to do the flat plane, which is a mathematical model, but we can do that another time.
Do you have time? Do you have if you wanted to like cover it a little bit, we could try to get into it.
For the next time we can do. No, let's leave the flat plane for the next time. It's
okay. All right. Yeah, sounds good. That's a good place to let's base our discussions and measurements off the flat plane.
For you.
Okay. All right. Yes. Sounds good. Then do you want to I have one more thing, and then if you want to close it out, I'll end it. You can have the last say. The only thing that I wanted to say is to anyone, like there's an app called Be My Eyes, BEMYEYES. Someone told me about this app a while ago, and I just wanted to put it out there for everybody. It's an app basically that if you download it, you sign up, you register, And then it's an app where people who are blind, they can use this app and they'll phone you, they'll FaceTime you, and that you will see their phone, their camera, and they will be like, hey, can you read this label for me? Or what am I looking at here? Or can you help me do this on the computer, where to click? So if anyone has any interest and wants it, you don't get a call very often. They like every 6 months or something, you might get a call, or it's very infrequent. But if anyone wants to download the Be My Eyes app, it is just, you might get a quick call in 10, 15 seconds or whatever. One time I walked someone home for like 3 minutes. It was pretty cool. But it's just something, if you ever want to download it or whatever, I just wanted to say that out there for anyone. So it's a really cool app, Be My Eyes. So anyway, yeah, Jack of all trades, if you want to close it off here, and then we can sign off. Thank you very much for this conversation, Joe.
Yes, it was a good one. Good chat. We've many points to discuss further. Looking forward to our next chat. Actually, we should do it more often. We've been struggling to get this organized for months now, and it's fun to do. We have quite a lot in common. I see you're quite interested in science and things like that. That's worth to pursue. And thanks for your time.
Certainly. My pleasure.
Okay. Hope to see you.
So that was a pretty congenial discussion. I don't know if Pitch Lumen learned anything, but it was pretty good to watch, I think. And like I said, Jack of all trades is a friend of the channel. He does really good videos. As a matter of fact, this is the one I just put up.
Hey guys, tune in tonight. We can talk about my new dorsal fin. It's very pointy and it makes me feel pretty. Ham hocks, grilled cheese on my jam. Super freak.
Anyway, yeah. I might be doing more of those. Taking shorts and dubbing words over it. I think it's kind of funny. It's fun to do. So, thanks for watching. That's all I have for you. We'll talk to you later. And as always,